Hey guys, how's it going? I want to talk about the Epstein files. I don't know how the hell you pronounce that name. Epstein. Who cares, right? Um, so a couple of days ago, sometime this week, who cares? The Trump administration came out and said, "Hey, there's nothing here," right? And a lot of people are upset. I'm upset. A lot of people are disappointed. I'm disappointed, right? One of the main reasons I voted for Trump was to get to the nitty gritty of things and either throw all these people in jail or, go Call of Duty on them. Um, but that's not what happened. And if I'm being honest, right, if all of us are being honest with ourselves, I think we all knew that this was the case. I think we all knew that this is what was going to happen. You know, keep in mind that Trump was elected office in November of 2024. Cash Patel, Dan Bongino, they weren't installed to be the directors and the deputy director of the FBI up until March or April, something like that. The time frame might be a little off, but you get the point. It was a good 4, 5, 6 month period. So November, December, January, February, March, April. So let's just say 4 to 6 month time frame from when Trump won the presidency. That's a lot of time, guys. That is a lot of time for the people and the powers that be to cover their tracks. You know, um, Congress, Republicans, Democrats, they did a really good job of stonewalling these nominations for as long as they could, up until they couldn't, right? Or up until the point where I think it was okay to go through the nomination process and approve of Cash Patel and Dan Bongino. When Trump and Pam Bondi announced that there's nothing here, I actually believed them. I believed them. No matter how disappointed and upset I was, I actually believed them. I believe that all the relevant information, files, documents, I believe it's all gone. President Trump had a blowout, kind of a blow up situation during a cabinet meeting where he was asked about the Epstein files, and he responded aggressively, angrily. And a lot of people are speculating it's because they're covering it up. I actually think that's not the case. I think the reason he blew up is because he's upset. He's disappointed. He too, all of them, every single one of them at that cabinet, they were expecting to find a silver bullet so they can take lots of people down. And I think they dug and they searched, and I think they did their best to find the information. Um, but I think they came into a wall, the biggest border wall of all, because it's not there. It's all gone. Do some files exist? Yeah. And I think back when you know Trump and Pam Bondi did the whole ceremony thing where they give out the binders with all with a lot of files in them to several conservative podcasters and to other people. I think that was the extent of what they had, right? Um, it's sad because we were all hoping that there would be something there. We were all hoping that this would be a dagger to the heart of the beast, but that turns out to be not be the case. I think his lash out was anger, frustration. Um, I really do think so. Um, I didn't see a man that was trying to hide something. I saw a man who was exhausted because I really do think they tried. Now, if you look on X or other social media, you're gonna see a lot of people like just upset, angry, talking about this is a betrayal. But I think we all knew deep inside that it was just too much time. I think our anger and frustration is being directed at the Trump administration, But in reality, I think we all knew this was going to happen. I think we all knew that the powers that be were in power for far too long, that they just had too much time to cover their tracks, to remove and delete all the relevant documents. Do I think that Epstein is an intelligence asset? He is. I know that. This has been brought up, several times in the past, from when he was first arrested and thrown in jail, and he was taken care of with the softest kid gloves that can ever exist. And then, once he was released, it was stated that he was hands off because he belonged to the CIA. Is the Mossad involved, which is Israeli intelligence? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he is. And so this takes us into a darker corner of our intelligence agencies and the horrendous things that they're willing to do to get an upper hand. And I know that most people understand that our intelligence agencies, they work in the dark. They work in the darkest corners of the earth. They deal with the darkest of the dark people. They work with the evil of the evil, most evil people. And in order to beat evil, sometimes you have to employ evil tactics. And for the most part, I think most Americans are okay with that, I think we are. I know I am. I'm okay with, people getting tortured if they're bad people and they have relevant information that's necessary to keep people safe. For example, there's a great Samuel L. Jackson movie called Unthinkable, right? If you haven't watched it, you should go watch it. Oh my God. What a movie. That was Samuel L. Jackson's, one of his greatest movies ever. And the plot of it is, he's this special torture interrogator that comes in when all else fails. And his job is to implement the most serious torture tactics to ever exist to get information out from the suspect or from the person. So anyways, this terrorist guy that just did something horrendous, they caught him. But he was willfully caught, right? He allowed himself to be caught. And they take him down to this deep underground basement in a secluded area. And they put him in this glass box. And he can see out, they can see in. And he's in this electrocutioner style of a chair. And essentially they're interrogating the hell out of him, right? And when they're not successful, they bring in Samuel Jackson, and Samuel Jackson starts, taking off his nails, doing all types of just really bad stuff. Towards the end of the movie, they're not getting anywhere with him. And so Samuel Jackson brings in the guy's wife and kids. And the guy doesn't think that Samuel Jackson is serious, and he ends up killing his wife right in front of him. And next he goes to execute the guy's kids. And the guy finally breaks down, and he gives Samuel L. Jackson all the information about where the other nuclear bombs are. Samuel L. Jackson doesn't believe that that's all the information. He thinks he's withholding stuff, so he goes to execute one of the kids. But the lady that was also there with him stopped him and prevented him from going any further. At the end of the movie, even though they were able to get, I think, 3 out of the 5 bombs, 2 other bombs exploded, which killed millions of people. Could it have been stopped if that lady, FBI agent, whoever she was, didn't get involved and allowed Samuel Jackson to do his job, which meant sacrificing 2 little kids to save millions of people, which would have included kids, babies, infants, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons. And so it spawns the question of, is it worth sacrificing 2 people, 3 people to save millions? In that scenario where Samuel L. Jackson is doing those things, I was in full support. I just was, you know. To me, it was a trade-off worth having, right? Did those kids deserve to be executed? Did his wife? No. They probably had no clue as to what was happening, right? Were they involved? Most likely not. But if it meant sacrificing two people to save millions, I think that trade-off is fair, because how many families in that millions are being just killed? And you're talking about thousands, tens of thousands, right? As far as Epstein's Island, the problem with that, man, is, and this is the problem I think that everybody has, not just myself, is there's doing that. And then there's kidnapping children, enslaving them, and using them as sex slaves to blackmail, to record the elites of the elites, the rich of the rich, the powerful, to blackmail these people to get them to do what you want in our favor. And the crazy thing is, I'm not okay with that. I am not okay with that, right? It's one thing in this situation where, sacrificing this guy's family to save millions of people and the total destruction of cities. And then all the radiation runoff, which would have killed other cities, which could have possibly destroyed an entire state. That trade-off is something that people like myself are willing to live with. What happened at Epstein's Island, even though the evidence no longer exists, we all know, right? It's been talked about for such a long time by many, many powerful people, politicians, presidents. We all know what it was. And none of us are okay with that. And the idea that our intelligence agency, any intelligence agency, can take kids, underage girls and boys, kidnap them, use them as sex slaves, as tools, as toys for perverted people, men and women, in a blackmail scheme to gain the upper hand in the intelligence warfare. I'm not okay with that. I'm just not. I never will be. Never, ever, ever will be. Never. Watch the movie, man. It's a powerful movie. And it's going to keep you on the edge of your seat, and you're going to come out conflicted. Part of you is going to be like, no, this is wrong. Because it is wrong. It's evil. What Samuel L. Jackson was doing was evil. There is no getting around it. It was evil, man. But when you're fighting an evil enemy, an enemy that's willing to destroy as much as it can destroy, you cannot play by the rules. I don't care what anybody says. You cannot defeat the purest of evil with good. You just can't. When somebody is trying to kill you and your family and your neighbor's family, you cannot go up to that person and try to hug them back to reality. What you have to do is get a gun and put them down. And some people might see that as just. Some people might see that as necessary. But at the end of the day, it's still an evil action that's necessary to take out an evil person or evil group of people. You understand? Life is not black and white. There is so much gray. And when it gets gray, you need people that are willing to play in that gray. You need people that are willing to swim in the dark, move in the dark, do things in the dark, that otherwise 99.99999% of people would never, ever be willing to do or able to do, because it takes a special person, right? Because every time those people play in the dark, in the gray, whatever the hell you want to call it, man, they lose a piece of themselves. No matter how just their actions are and how necessary it is for them to go into the dark and become part of the dark, to take out the dark, the evil, it changes you. You can never come back to who you were prior to those actions being done. I am not okay with what happened on that island. And the idea, and I can say that happened for sure. I can say with absolute certainty it happened. But at the end of the day, we all still have no proof. But we know. Inside we all know. And the idea that any intelligence agency would do that is just not okay with me. And it's not okay with 99.999% of living human beings. When I saw that cabinet meeting and I saw Trump get upset and he stated, "Why are we still talking about this?" I didn't see a man with a cover-up. I saw a man frustrated. I saw a man angry. I saw a man who knew that this existed, but he had no proof because it all disappeared. It was all disappeared, guys. It was too much time. Republicans and Democrats, and keep in mind, I am clearly stating Republicans and Democrats, they purposely held up those nominations because they were involved. Maybe not directly, but they knew about it. And if they didn't know about it, they participated in it. They were part of the blackmail ring. They were in those videos. They were involved doing those things to those girls and boys. I am a huge Trump supporter. I fully support the majority of things he's doing. I may not agree with everything fully, but I do my best to put myself in a position of his to try to understand. And when I do that, I can be like, I get it, right? I get it. I understand. I'm not an expert. Nobody's an expert out here in this world. And even the experts have been proven to be idiots. The majority of experts are the people that are pushed in our face as experts have been the people who have been the most wrong going back millennium. Do I know if these tariff thing that that Trump is doing is gonna work? I don't know. Nobody knows. The experts don't know. Why? Because it's never been tried. It hasn't been tried since what, the 1920s, I think they said, where essentially America operated strictly off of tariffs. We didn't have no income tax. We didn't have none of that shit. It was just tariff revenue. So we don't know. We don't know just because it worked back then, it's going to work today. We don't know because it's not the same country. You can't compare what happened 100 years ago, 105 years ago to something that's happening today. It's not even the same environment. It's not. We are more global today and interdependent than we've ever been. So I don't know. Nobody knows. But is it something different? Is it a different solution other than what we've been doing? It is. And therefore, I'm willing to sit back and wait and see how things play out before I start jumping around like some dumbass and being like, look, which is what a lot of people are doing because they've been told to act like that. What happened with Epstein should never happen again in American history. And I hope it never does. Because as Americans, we have to be better. Am I okay with operatives, intelligence assets going out there and taking out evil people across the world to keep America and other countries safe? I am. I am. If Trump wanted to deploy Delta Force, Marines, SEALs to Mexico and take all these bastards out, I would be like, do it. Kill them all. The hell with this, going through the courts. Just do it. The Mexican people, the Mexican citizens, they need to be free of that. But not just that, right? Us as Americans, we need to be free of all the drugs that they send into America. And yes, you can be one of those people that, well, if there was no desire or if people didn't consume it, they wouldn't exist. Guess what, guys? If it wasn't there, they wouldn't be able to use it, right? And I am one of those people that believe that the majority of drugs should be legal. I think weed should be legal across the board. I think cocaine should be legal, heroin. I think a lot of drugs should just be legal. I don't agree with the idea that people should go to jail for doing something to themselves. Yeah, I just don't. It's the same way, like, I believe, like, I am a 100% believer in my body, my choice. If a woman wants to sell her body to make some money, I'm okay with that. Do I think it's the right thing to do? No. Do I think that that woman should do that? I don't think she should. But it's her body. And if she wants to use her body to make some money, that's up to her. As long as nobody's forcing her to do it. And it's the same thing with a lot of things. This is the reason when they were trying to force people to do the COVID vax, I was like, no. They tried doing the mandates. I was like, absolutely not. Send me to jail first. I don't care. Because, one more time, nobody should be forced to do something with their body that they're not comfortable with. Because once you go down that road, to what end? To what end, right? Today we might have somebody that's hardcore liberal and be like, yeah, free choice for everything. You want to kill all your babies the moment you get pregnant, kill them. Tomorrow we might have some extremist that's like, if you get raped by 30 men, you're going to be forced to have that baby. And then if they do it again, you're going to have that baby. And then if you do it again, you're going to have that baby. You understand? Like, it's a double-edged sword that you don't want to play with. It's just not. What if you get some guy that's hardcore, into vaccines? You have to have every vaccine, regardless of its test, regardless of its efficacy, if it comes out in big pharma says it's safe, even though they didn't test it, you better get it or else. You understand? Like to what end? And so I say no to all of it. When it comes to people's bodies, we should have full 1,000 billion% autonomy when it comes to our own bodies. Now, if somebody's doing drugs and they get in a car, they should be punished. Just because you're allowed to do drugs legally, in my world, you would be allowed to. That doesn't give you the right to get in a car, high, stoned, wired, fentanyl out, and go put other people's lives in danger. No. You should go to jail. You should be punished. Right? And so I'm very sad and disappointed about what happened. But if we are all being honest, we all knew this was going to be the outcome, because the powers that be were all involved. And don't just think America. This was across the world. We had royalty, monarchs. We had dictators there. We had them all. They were all there, man. Celebrities. Billionaires. Shit. Trillionaires. This was always going to be the outcome. Because those people are so powerful that the instruction, once Trump got voted in, was to clean house. And that's what they did. Do I think that Trump was personally involved in all that? I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because They tried killing the guy. If they had a silver bullet, like him doing anything inappropriate on the island, they would have used it. But they didn't use it. And why? Killing somebody is always the last resort. It's never first option. It's always the last option. And so that's why I don't think Trump had anything to do with it. It's not because I like Trump. No, if it comes out that he did anything inappropriate, he should be treated. He should be put to a permanent sleep, just like the rest of them. But the fact that it was never used against him tells me more than anything else. And I think if you're being honest with yourself, that would be your conclusion as well. Maybe you haven't thought of that. Right? And so that's why I'm voicing it. That's why I'm expressing it. I want so bad for these elites, these extremely wealthy, powerful people to be punished for what they did. But it seems like we're going to have to wait for God to sort that out. And that's hard because I want judgment. I want punishment today. I want it now. It's not going to happen. They're too powerful. They're too strong. They're too entwined. And they were able to cover their tracks. So we're just going to have to hope and pray that God assigns judgment faster than normal to these sick-ass people. That's all I got. I just wanted to come on here and talk about that, give my opinion, my take, from a lot of different angles, man, because right now, if you go on social media, it's just one directional. If it's not one directional, it's just two straight lines running parallel with each other. It's either Trump's covering it up because he's part of it, or it's Trump's covering it up because there's too many powerful people. No, there's third, fourth, fifth options, which is it's all been destroyed. There was too much time. They had way too much access, way too much time to cover it up because the powers that be put the word out, get this done. And well, guess what, guys? I think they got it done. It seems like they got it done. It seems like they covered their tracks very well. And it's sad. I hate to believe that that's the truth, but deep down, the same way I know that Epstein's island was real and those horrible things happened is the same way I feel deep down that it was all destroyed. And what I saw yesterday from President Trump, was frustration. It wasn't a man covering things up. It was a man who was frustrated and angry. And it was a man who was like, there's nothing we can do. We got to move on. We got to move on to the next thing. If there ain't shit we can do about it, we got to move on to the next thing. And if you hear his words, that's exactly what he said. We have too many things to worry about. We got to move on. And he's right. You cannot dwell what you cannot control. You cannot dwell on what you cannot control. If it's gone, you do have to move on to the next thing. And that's why I think he lashed out, in my opinion. Okay, this was a fun one, man, because yeah, dude, like I think we all feel it, man. Inside, we wanted these people to burn. Their time will come. It just may not be in this life. And so, thank you. Thank you for listening. If anybody listens, I appreciate your time.